One mic. All I need is one mic.
It's just different.
One mic with Big Mike.
The overall tenor of what he's saying is very stupid.
They say his style is too urban for the radio.
Maybe it's not racism, maybe it's placism.
Brother has to know his place, right, Bob?
One mic with Big Mike.
Things aren't always what they seem.
A sports talk show, but no subject matter is off limit.
Don't just tell me that the reason something's being done is because that's the way it's always been done. Because the first thing I'm going to say to you is slavery.
And now, your host.
I got the big homie here who needs no introduction.
Big Mike. All I need is one mic.
Yep. What's good, y'all? Welcome into a Hump Day edition.
Hump Day!
I'm about to say Monday. I'm going back in time. Welcome to the Hump Day edition of the One Mic with Big Mike show. Here with me, your host, Big Mike, here on Spreaker and the Spreaker app, as well as on TuneIn, Blast.fi, and my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. That's spelt the number one, MICWITHBIGMIKE.com. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday starting at 7 o'clock. Eastern time, that is, for my people listening strong in where was it? I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere across the seas, Congo, somewhere like that. Anyway, I'm here in the ATL, man. It's a hot, humid day here. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the number one, MICWITHBIGMIKE. Also, I'm streaming live video on my Facebook page, so like that page. It is One Mic with Big Mike, spelled ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. Cambodia is where it was. Thank you, Renee. Renee, always on time with my brain farts. She catches them and fans them away and then gives me the right answer. Cambodia is where I'm being heard also. But, 7 o'clock Eastern time for my people in Cambodia. I'm big in the sea. If you guys want to be a part of the show, I do suggest that you do so. You can do so a couple of different ways. Either via my live interactive chat room, you do so by listening to the show via Spreaker.com or downloading that Spreaker app to your phones. Make sure you sign up for your free Spreaker accounts as well. That way, once you search for One Mic with Big Mike and then follow me, you guys get alerts letting you know when the show is live. When I do hit the button to go live, you get the alerts. But also, you can chat with me by clicking on that little thought bubble that you see on the streaming player to get you into the live interactive chat room, and you guys can chat with me. You can talk to the other people in the chat room. You can ask questions to my guests, and today is very important that you do so. If you guys got a fantasy draft like we do, the One Mic with Big Mike Fantasy League is drafting this Sunday at 2 o'clock. So if you guys are getting ready for your fantasy drafts, my guy from the Sporting News, Matt Lutovsky, is going to be on at 7:30 at the bottom of the hour to answer any and all, well, as many as he can in the segment, fantasy draft strategy questions. If you want to know about certain players, he got all the information you need. So you can drop those questions in the live interactive chat room, or you can text those questions to 404-902-8104, and I'll ask Matt on your behalf. Or you can leave them in the comment section under the streaming video on my Facebook page. So a couple of different ways you can ask your questions about fantasy drafts or whatever. And you can also answer our question of the day brought to us by sportsnewsandbrews.com. It is with the start of college football season this weekend. Which game? It's supposed to be like the third best based on the teams that the ranked teams playing each other. The third best college football weekend in history. So I want to know, which game are you most looking forward to? I got a couple of answers that I'll read to you guys as the show goes on. As well as Matt Lutovsky and my guy Michael Collins from Fansided. He's going to get on with me, and we're going to preview the college football season. We're going to talk about this weekend. We're going to talk about what he anticipates going forward through the season, because I haven't talked a lot about college football. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those things where the test is coming up on Saturday, and I ain't done no studying, and I ain't going to class. I've done some. I paid attention to some of the higher profile things, but for the in-depth stuff, we're going to get it from Michael Collins of Fansided.com. He's at MC Fansided. It's like a rapper's name, MC Fansided. That's his Twitter, so if you guys want to follow him there. If you don't get a chance to stick around for the entire show, or if you want to come back and get that draft knowledge before your draft, you can do so via Spreaker, the Spreaker app, TuneIn, Blast.fi. Of course, my website, onemicwithbigmike.com. iTunes, iHeartRadio, and YouTube as well. You can always come back and get the archived episodes of the shows there. Now, as far as today goes, I mentioned the guest already, so that means on this day will have to be pushed all the way into the bottom of next hour. On this day being my daily segment where I take a look back into the history of sports and give you guys some little factoids that you may be able to use here and there and everywhere. We'll talk about, I didn't get a chance Monday because I did the whole show on Colin Kaepernick on Monday, and I'll talk a little bit more about that today as well. But we'll talk about some of the stuff that transpired from, last Friday till today in the National Football League. Hard Knocks was last night. Thankfully, there's one more episode of that tripe. So we'll talk about that. I'll run down the schedule to you guys. I talked about, the ranked teams playing each other in college football this weekend. I'll give you guys the headline games that you want to check out this weekend. May talk some TV with you guys. I didn't get a chance to talk about Power. I do that sometime during the week before the next episode, or Survivor's Remorse, which I'm all the way caught up with now, the night of, things like that. But first, also make sure you guys subscribe to my iTunes and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, so we can get our, subscribers up. That's what we want. We want more subscribers. I want to start off today by continuing the conversation a little bit about Colin Kaepernick. I'm not going to rehash and redo Monday's show. If you want Monday's show, go back to all the outlets that I just mentioned earlier, and you can hear Monday's show there. But some things have kind of jumped the shark since Monday, or since Friday when he decided not to stand for the national anthem. The conversation has changed, and you guys have allowed it to change. You guys are falling for the okie doke. You know what I mean? When people don't want to talk about things that make them uncomfortable or they feel guilty about, oftentimes the ploy is to redirect the conversation into something that they know other people will back them on, or they feel other people will back them on, and give them a sense of being right. As the people who are most affected and feel most passionately about these police shootings and this police brutality, we gotta stay on message, man. You know what I mean? We gotta stay on message. We gotta, this whole, damn that whole flag stuff. No one should care that much, to be honest with you. This is not the time for you to be showing off your Google muscles and seeing how much information that you can Google on the racist nature of the American flag. Who cares? That has no effect on the price of tea in China today. Today, and over the past couple of days, the message has been lost, and you guys have allowed the people who control the messages, the white media, you've allowed them to take your attention elsewhere. The other morning, I woke up yesterday morning, I was still kind of fired up from the show and all this kind of stuff, and I fired off a couple of Facebook posts. One was this old man in a thong made of the American flag, and the other one was of the kid that killed those people in South Carolina in that church, burning the flag. And then I stopped myself. I was like, what the hell am I doing? That's not what this is about. And then I immediately thereafter posted that, look, man, I got caught up in this whole flag issue and caught myself and realized, look, man, this is about turning on your TV and watching, how many was it? Six or seven cops in Chicago that got fired for tampering with the evidence, trying to cover up the fact that they murdered somebody's child. That needs to be the conversation at the front of the line. This flag stuff been around. This flag stuff in 1814 was when the flag was, or the national anthem, I should say, was written. This ain't the time for that damn debate. Play your damn national anthem, whatever. Do what you want to during the national anthem, whatever. But it's always a telling sign And I talked about this a little bit on Monday. Like the battle lines have been drawn. It's very clear now. If it wasn't before, it's very clear. Who gives a damn about you and who doesn't? Very, very clear. All these people that you cheer for on Sundays, the Drew Breeses of the world, you know, these folks telling you that Colin Kaepernick is a disgrace. When no one's willing to talk. Like, here's the other thing that's happening too. All these talking heads on TV that look like me, this is happening a lot, and I saw this a lot today. White people are doing this. Their white counterparts are doing this. I mean, what is his issue? I'm still trying to figure out what his issue is. And before the black person that's being asked a question answers very, very directly and just says, look, he wants to stop turning on his television and seeing black people murdered by people wearing badges. They tiptoe around it and dance around it. Because, look, let me tell you something that I know. Working for ESPN, the one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to be the black dude that sounds like he's coming down on the police. ESPN don't want them problems. They don't want you bringing those problems. So they got black folks on these shows tap dancing and working around the issue and talking around it. And that ain't helping nobody. Because, like, who was Paul Feinbaum today? Punk Joey Galloway on some, like, what is he really trying to prove? I'll wait. I keep asking, and I'll wait for somebody to answer me. You think Joey Galloway answered him? He said he told you what his issue was, but it never came out of his mouth, and that's the problem. Like when Michael Jordan came out with that statement, and I was mad at myself for not catching this, but shout out to Bomani Jones who did catch this. The coding in Michael Jordan's statement that the policemen were killed. You feel me? But those two black guys, they died. That's because people don't want to face the facts. When Colin Kaepernick calls it murder, when he tweets and says this is a modern day lynching, that's gonna make the average white person uncomfortable. But those are the conversations that need to continue. Damn that flag. All that stuff about these troops, damn that. Because, like, look what's happening now. Right? You got troops that are saying, well, forget him. He doesn't know what he's talking about, right? But now, what's the hashtag? I'm sure Renee knows what it is. It's Veterans for Kaepernick, or is that what it is? Hashtag Veterans for Kaepernick. That's the thing that kind of, like, I read today is taking over social media. Because it's real talk. It's black people saying, look, before I had on this green camouflage uniform, I had on this black skin first. So that in and of itself became divisive. But in the reality, it's like this, man. If you're a human being and you turn on your television, you see some kid getting choked out on television by the police and he's screaming he can't breathe. What part of your humanity says that I should just discard that? Discard that part of what the young man's talking about, what Colin Kaepernick is talking about. And let me latch on to this fake ass patriotism. I know all I need to know now. I've told y'all before. Like, I'm glad that I know Renee, my homeboy DeMario, people around me who say, you know, I'm always have hope that things are gonna get better. Because I have none. I have less than none. If it's possible to have less than none, I have less than no hope, no faith. Because the people who are in control of the change don't want it to change. As black people, we can want it to change all we want to, but guess what? We didn't create the system. We didn't force ourselves into the system. We don't have the keys to change the system. So people can keep telling black people that are living in poverty and undereducated to pick yourselves up by your bootstraps. It's America. You should be able to do it. But these are the people who have already been placed in positions of been placed in these privileged positions that are talking this mess. And as long as people who look like me can be monetized by this quote unquote capitalist society, it ain't gonna change. Like, y'all can hope and wish all you want to, but the system isn't designed. It never has been. It's ever changing. And yeah, sure, a couple of people will rap and play some ball, you know what I mean, will make a bunch of money. This is like, it's like that Chris Rock bit. You know, when Chris Rock is like, look, in my neighborhood, there's 3 black people. It's me, Jay-Z, and Mary J. Blige. And then next door to me, my next door neighbor is a white dude that's a dentist. Not the best dentist in the world, just a dentist. So to live in that neighborhood, you got to be one of the best ever at what you do if you black. But if you're a white boy, yeah, you just get a dentist. So you tell me why any of those people should want to be uncomfortable in addressing the situation properly. See, it's easy to then try to blame it on Colin Kaepernick. See, because the way he did it, he's making everybody talk about this other stuff. No, he ain't. You're choosing to, and it's black people. I'm talking to y'all. It's black people. Y'all got to be smarter than that. Just stop. If somebody want to have a stupid conversation about a stupid flag, let them have it. And then when they done ranting about patriotism and troops and all that, say, okay, what about Michael Brown? What about Tamir Rice? What about Philando Castile? Now that you done talking about your dumbass flag, let's talk about those guys. And then see what happens. But as long as y'all continue to get sucked in to the stupidity, what's going to change? You tell me what's going to change. Because the distraction is the biggest weapon that can be used against you now. Once I know that I can avoid a tough conversation by making it look like we can gang up on you over something very trivial. Yeah, of course. So y'all keep posting your pictures of Donald Trump standing there without his hand on his heart. Keep posting your pictures of people sitting down in the Senate while the national anthem's playing. And say, what about these guys? What about them? Who gives a damn? What about them? Because half y'all ass is doing that. You know what you're going to be doing when you go to the Falcons game on Thursday? Standing your ass up. It's One Mic with Big Mike, man. It's a hump day here. I didn't know what I was going to talk about today. I wasn't able to really focus on my prep today, and because the stuff was just, just sitting on me all day, and I was waiting. I was looking to see when somebody else was going to say, we need to stop talking about this damn flag. And I understand what it is. You feel me? I understand what happens, because you turn on your TV like I do. You turn on your TV, you see on CNN, you turn on ESPN, and everybody's saying the same thing. They keep talking about this flag. They keep talking about this patriotism, and how this kid's a coward, and how he's a traitor. To the point, his career is about to be over, ladies and gentlemen. On some dumb stuff. This kid's career is about to be over. And again, pay attention. This, if nothing else, lets you know how this country views you. If you ever believed that there was any love for you in this country, understand that if your black ass get out of line and you making a little bit of money, nah, hell no, we can't have that. Half of this money we paying you to shut the hell up and be a good boy. That's what they make it seem like. Let me read some of this stuff to you. This kid, Mike Freeman. Mike Freeman used to write for CBS. He writes for the Bleacher Report now. And he did some interviews with some NFL execs. And the conversation, of course, was Colin Kaepernick. And, he asked the questions that I'm talking about now, about how if he were to get cut, would he land on his feet? He talks about in this piece that members of NFL front offices, the word he uses is despise him. One front office member said, quote, I don't want him anywhere around my team. He's a traitor. This begs the question, what makes you a bigger patriot? The person who sits around and accepts everything his government throws at him, or the person that questions his government? Which one of those things makes you a better patriot, a better American, a better citizen? Just think about that and, pass it on amongst your friends or whatever. He said he interviewed 7 team executives. Each said they didn't want Kaepernick on their team. All 7 estimated 90 to 95% of the NFL front offices felt the same way they did. One executive said he hasn't seen this much collective dislike. You're going to love this one. Y'all going to love this one. This much collective dislike amongst front office members regarding a player since Ray Caruth. If you don't know who Ray Caruth is, Ray Caruth was a young wide receiver out of the University of Colorado who got drafted by the Carolina Panthers, who was dating a young lady, got her pregnant. She wouldn't have an abortion, so he hired hitmen to kill her, to run up on her car and shoot her through her car window. The young lady died. Her son is alive and well now. I think he's about to be 18 years old. He still cannot function like a regular human being because of the lack of oxygen to his brain. Yeah, Renee. Yeah, Renee's in the chat room. You guys can get in there as well and join this conversation. Just click on that little thought bubble you see on the Spreaker streaming player, or if you're listening via my website, One Mic with Big Mike, you'll see the icon there as well. You can also leave your comments under my streaming video on Facebook Live. My page is ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. Yes, Ray Caruth, the murderer, is who Colin Kaepernick brings feelings of from these NFL execs. Who, if you didn't know, in the NFL, they're mostly white gentlemen. One says he has no respect for that country. F that guy. That's a quote. Another said that if an owner asked him to sign Kaepernick, he would consider resigning rather than do that, rather than get that man a job or hire him. Each executive said he believes Kaepernick will likely get released by the 49ers and never play in the NFL again. They've already blackballed this guy. Already. For what? Doing for exercising a right as an American. And that's the other conversation that needs to stop having. Like, I'm not going to give you credit for backing this dude up when all you're saying into the microphone is, that's his right to do that. And, if that's how we all have our different ways of doing it, shut your ass up. Do you believe black kids should be getting killed by police in the street or not? And all that dancing, that Russell Wilson tap dancing and all that, miss it, man. Run away from the microphone. And if any of y'all are accepting that, you're as stupid as they are. The fear that these white folks had placed into these multi-millionaire, big, tough, rough and tough football players is astounding. I'm going to say something, but I ain't going to say too much, boss. It's cool. I prefer you just not say nothing, though. You know what I mean? Because you're making yourself look like a jackass. He points out, Michael Freeman in this piece points out that this is the same league that signed domestic abusers, accused murderers, players who killed other people while driving drunk. Same league that's done that. Now won't let a dude who's protesting the oppression of black people in this country quietly, silently, ain't brought no attention to himself. You know what I mean? Like, he could, like, if he was a real N-word about it, he could have just went out on the field, like where everybody was standing up and sat down on the ground right there. He could have done that. Nah, he went off into the cut where somebody had to get a picture of him from like the upper level and zoom in and had this grainy ass photo of him. He said he talked to people close to Kaepernick and they say that they fully expect to be released by the 49ers. So again, man, y'all wanted to talk about a couple weeks ago. Y'all wanted to talk about people standing up, people being brave, Carmelo and these guys. If you don't see the difference, you just won't. You know what I mean? If you don't see the difference between that fine walk down that line and what's going on here, he's risking it all, man. He's giving it all up for what he believes in. You dig? And it's just the sad part to me, and the part that just kind of makes me a little bit emotional is that it doesn't feel like the people that he wants to represent get it. Y'all want to fight all these different little ancillary auxiliary fights about stupid stuff and try to convince people who will have no idea. Like, before I go to break and then bring on my guy, because we're going to definitely take a break from this. Bring on my guy, Matt Lutovsky. There's a Publix that's about a 5-minute drive from my house. You know what I mean? So, like, if I want to go get me some wings or something, I'll shoot up there real quick. But in my car, I have a mount for my phone, you know, that comes out of like the center of the car. And for a 5-minute drive, you would think, right, I could just like keep the phone in my pocket and ride up to the store and get what I'm getting. But because of what I know, I never do. I pull out of the garage and I always make sure the phone is mounted. So at any given time, I can always hit the camera. If the blue lights come on behind me, I don't have to be reaching for nothing. I can always just hit that video and have it rolling in case something go down. What white boy you know, white woman you know, have to do that when they leave the house? This is the difference, man. So when white people start saying that crazy stuff about, I don't even see what's his point? Just walk away, man. Because they saw the same videos you saw. They saw the reenactment of Tamir Rice, the police doing a drive-by on a kid. Doing a drive-by on this kid playing with his toy. But how many stories have you seen of white boys with real guns? Real guns, and have fired real shots, go to jail alive? That's the difference. See, we could talk about this whole systematic thing, and the police are trained this way and they're not trained enough and all this kind of stuff, but they seem to have good training. When the white boy got a gun, I got it in my hand. Even if it's a toy, they gonna have to take my black ass to the morgue. We gotta stay on conversation, man. Don't let all this other stuff, you know, come into the picture and distract you from what's really what the point is. Because now what happens is you keep arguing this argument about this flag and these troops and all this kind of stuff. This dude is gonna get cut, and they're gonna hope he goes away. And if you keep having those conversations, everything that happens to him will be done in vain. It will be for no reason. And that, my friends, will be the larger tragedy. It's the One Mike with Big Mike show here on Spreaker.com. Also on the Spreaker app, if you download that for all your mobile devices. You can sign up for your free Spreaker accounts and follow my show, One Mike with Big Mike. After you do that, make sure you after you search for it, follow me, and then you can get the alerts on when the show goes live. You can also hear the show live on TuneIn, Blastfire, and my website, onemikewithbigmike.com, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Starting at 7 o'clock, I'm also streaming live video right now on my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/ONE MICWITHBIGMIKE. You guys want to get in on the conversation, or you want to ask some fantasy football questions, do it via the live interactive chat room, or you can text your questions to 404-902-8104, or answer the question of the day, which is, which college football game this weekend are you most looking forward to? We're going to come back, talk to my guy Matt Lutovsky of the Sporting News about this fantasy football situation. And then after we do that, we'll talk to Michael Collins, and then we'll get back to the Colin Kaepernick situation, and we'll talk some NFL stuff as well. This is the One Mike with Big Mike show.
Hey, everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice, special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well...
Hey, Matt, how are you, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, brother. Give me about another minute here. Hold on for me, and I'll reset the show, and we'll get to this fantasy football stuff.
8774 sounds good.
All right, appreciate it.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
In the U.S., about 90 people die in motor vehicle crashes each day, and thousands more are injured. resulting in hundreds of millions of dollars in direct medical costs each year. 1 in 3 crash deaths involves drunk driving, almost 1 in 3 involves speeding, and half of those who died were not buckled up. Even though we've made progress in the U.S., other high-income countries have lower motor vehicle crash death rates. We can and must do better. Here's what you can do. Use a seatbelt in every seat on every trip, no matter how short. Make sure children are always properly buckled in the back seat, in a car seat, booster seat, or seatbelt, whichever is appropriate for their age, height, and weight. Never drive while impaired by alcohol or drugs, and help others do the same. Obey speed limits, and drive without distractions. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/vital signs.
And now, back to One Mic.
What are we waiting for? Let's get to it.
With Big Mike.
Welcome back to the Hump Day edition of the One Mic with Big Mike show. Yes, indeed. It is a hump day, man. Helping you guys get over the rest of this hump. Appreciate you joining me. Appreciate everybody who's listening via Spreaker.com, the Spreaker app, or if you're listening via TuneIn or Blastfire on my website, OneMic.com. I definitely appreciate it. Also, you guys make sure you're following me on Twitter and Instagram at the number 1 MIC, WITHBIGMIKE, and make sure you're checking out the live stream on YouTube, on Facebook, Facebook.com/ONE MICWITHBIGMIKE. It is that time each and every Wednesday from here to the end of fantasy football season. We're going to be dropping some knowledge. Well, I'm not going to be dropping no knowledge. I'm going to be getting the knowledge. And we're going to be doing it with this guy right here. Oops, hold on. I got to hit your intro, Matt. Hold on.
It's time to talk fantasy football.
Let's have some fun. Let's go.
It's time to get those lineups set.
End zone caught. Touchdown. Yeah! Yes, sir.
With Matt Lutovsky of Sporting News.
Put him on the board. Championship.
On One Mic with Big Mike.
All right. Yes, indeed. I look forward to this each and every week, man, because I'm trying to get me a championship out of this thing and send these folks home crying. Matt, what's going on, brother?
Hey, I'm doing good. How you doing?
I can't complain, my man. You guys make sure you check out Matt's stuff. He's got a fantasy cheat sheet that I will definitely be using on Sunday for our draft. And follow him on Twitter at @MLutovsky. If you're looking at the Facebook stream right now, you see his beautiful mug right there with his Twitter information up under it. Now, let's start here. Now, we got a 10-team league on the One Mic with Big Mike league, Matt. So, we're doing PPR. We're doing points per reception. So, ideally, if everything fell your way, how would you go first 5 picks, position-wise, I mean? Like, where would you go first round, second round, third round, fourth round, fifth round? If everything fell the way you would want it to, what positions would you go for those first 5 picks?
I think first 5 you're probably going 3 receivers, 2 running backs. I mean, obviously it can change. Like if you have pick 8, you might go Gronk. So something like that maybe changes it. Maybe Jordan Reed falls a little bit further, and you grab him with that 4th or 5th pick. But that's the ratio I'd be looking at if you don't get Gronk. You don't need a quarterback there. It's certainly possible. Maybe Cam Newton or Aaron Rodgers falls too far. But that would be my target, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, try to balance it out that way.
Hey, you talk about the quarterback. A lot of quarterback news here over the couple of weeks, and they probably got some pretty significant fantasy repercussions. Tom Brady being suspended, we already knew that was going to happen, but Tony Romo messed around and broke his back. And now we got Teddy Bridgewater has torn his knee up. Now, what is the trickle-down effect from that? We're talking about for guys like Ezekiel Elliott, for guys like Gronk, for guys like Des Bryant, for guys like Adrian Peterson. What's the young wide receiver's name in Minnesota?
They got Stephon Diggs and Laquan Treadwell. They got a couple. For the Bridgewater thing, I personally don't see as that big of that's a big real life thing. I don't know how big it is for fantasy though. I mean, right. Adrian Peterson has put up monster numbers with worse quarterbacks under center. I don't think defenses are really worried about Teddy Bridgewater throwing over the top. So, to me, I'm treating Adrian Peterson about the same. And as far as Diggs and Treadwell, the Vikings threw the fewest times of any team last year. It was unlikely both would have consistent fantasy value. Now, yeah, maybe you downgrade them a little bit more. I like Diggs more than Treadwell, just mainly, because Treadwell's a rookie. So yeah, you downgrade them a little bit. They're bench receivers. Maybe they have some big weeks here and there. Now in Dallas, it's a little more interesting. Again, I don't think the Romo thing hurts Ezekiel Elliott that much. You know, they had quarterbacks worse than Dak Prescott last year and a worse running back than Ezekiel Elliott, and Darren McFadden was still like top 5 in rushing yards. They still got the O-line. They're going to be fine. I think Elliott's still, you know, a borderline first-round pick. Bryant, you worry about a little more, definitely. I'd drop him down. To me, now, you know, we had him ahead of A.J. Green, and I think another one of those big receivers. He's ahead of Allen Robinson, too. We dropped him down below those guys.
Right.
I think that's fair, right around that Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall range. And obviously with the Patriots, like you said, we knew it was coming. We've all been preparing for it. And, you know, I think Gronk's fine. Garoppolo's still going to throw a lot to the tight end. And
even after what you've seen him do in the preseason?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not too worried about Gronk. I mean, the Patriots are the masters of, you know, keeping guys behind glass and breaking it when they need them. And, you know, they're not in the business of losing games early in the year. So I think Gronk will be just fine. Edelman's a little different because obviously him and Brady were on such the same page, and his stuff is so timing based, and he's got his own injuries to deal with. So I could see dropping him down a little bit in drafts, especially non-PPR. Might take him a little while to get going.
We're talking right now with Matt Lutovsky of Sporting News. He's a fantasy expert. Make sure you guys are following him online at @MLutovsky and checking out his stuff on Sporting News, of course. Now, we've gotten to see some players who are coming back from injury. Finally, now through the preseason, we've gotten to see Dez. We didn't get to see Jordy now. Kelvin Benjamin, Alshon Jeffries, Joe Flacco, even guys like Kevin White, rookie, who was rookie last year and didn't play. Give me some of those guys after seeing what we've gotten to see during the preseason. Who are some of the guys coming off of injury that look like they may be back to true form?
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys you mentioned, like Jeffrey. You know, this guy I wasn't really worried about. I wasn't worried about Des Bryant. You know, Jordy, we haven't seen yet. That's a minor worry because, you know, he tore the one ACL, and then he has tendonitis in the other knee this preseason. He's back to practicing, supposed to be ready for week 1. But Jordy Nelson worries me a little bit. Jamal Charles, we got some bad news on him this week.
Right.
You know, saying, Chiefs reporter for ESPN saying, I don't think he's going to be the full feature back like right away. That's a definite worry. I love Spencer Ware going into this season as a handcuff. He might be a little bit more early on, but those guys are worried. Thomas Rawls is a bit of a worry. He hasn't played yet either for the Seahawks, and Christine Michael's been tearing it up. I mean, he's a guy. That's a fantasy ghost story right there. Everyone's been chasing, but this could be the year, you know, especially if Rawls can't get going early, splitting carries, things like that. But most of those other guys, we've only seen them in a limited capacity, and they've done nothing to sort of worry me more. Like I said, Alshon, Dez, and some of those guys. But anytime a guy's got an injury history, you worry about it. You worry about it recurring, and that's why they come at usually a slightly bit of a discount on draft day. So you take advantage. You just hope they can stay healthy.
Now, you see, some of the guys I call like fantasy fools gold. You know, they have these preseasons, and they kind of make you think about them a little bit more than maybe you would have in the first place. Guys like Terrell Pryor, Dak Prescott, the Titans running game as a whole. First of all, do you see those guys the way I do, and who are some of the other guys that you may see in that same category?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's kind of like with spring training in baseball. Like, I pay very little attention to NFL preseason aside from did someone get hurt, because that's really the main thing that matters. I mean, you want to watch, and if a team has a new coach or something like that, you kind of want to see how they're playing and what their offensive style is. But honest to God, as soon as week 1 starts, things can change, and you don't really know. You know, you mentioned some guys that I think are in that category, like Terrell Pryor. I'm not buying him.
Yeah, all he did was run fast past people.
Right, and you look at it, he's on the Browns, who none of us really think are going to have a good offense. He's, the 4th option as soon as Josh Gordon gets back week 5?
Wait, well, what about him, though? Like, because that year that Josh Gordon led the league in receiving, I drafted him and just sat him there until he got off suspension and got to, I think I got to the championship that year. So what about Josh Gordon? How do you approach that situation?
Yeah. Well, there's a guy, too, who came in his first preseason game and
Right.
catches 87 yards and a touchdown, and everyone's back all in on the guy. Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be some rust when things get going for real. But I think more than that, the risk with him is he does one thing wrong, and he's probably out for the rest of the year. But you look at it, he's going off the board in like 6th, 7th round to draft, something like that. Probably a little too high for me. I doubt I'll get him in any leagues, but I understand why people are willing to take that risk. But I would caution that just because he had one good preseason game where he caught 2 passes, don't think that eliminates the rust factor.
Mm-hmm.
And in week 5, he's going to be awesome. He could, but I'm not totally buying that yet. And certainly with young players, rookies, you mentioned Dak Prescott, it's going to be different once the season starts, I think. So it's always more encouraging when they do play well than when they play bad. But at the same time, everything changes week 1. I think, anyone who's played fantasy football has learned that by now. So it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of feel things out as we get into the season.
In the 10-team league, is Dak Prescott draftable?
I mean, I don't think so. You think about it, if everyone just takes one backup, that's 20 quarterbacks.
Right.
He's not in the top 20 quarterbacks. I mean, it's pretty deep this year. I mean, I think we have like Ryan Tannehill ranked 20 or 21 or something like that. And I mean, Ryan Tannehill's guy, he's better. He's more proven. So it's tough, but I mean, certainly if you're drafted in the Dallas area, he's probably going to get drafted. He could be one of those guys. Big week 1, he's the number 1 waiver claim. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if that happened. But we see that stuff every year. And you look at like Mariota last year, had the monster week 1, and then was very up and down the rest of the year and dealt with injuries. So this kind of thing happens all the time. And I just always kind of caution a little discipline after those first couple weeks.
All right, now I got to bring you home. I got to bring you to the hometown. There's been some concern with one Matthew Ryan over since the second half of last year to the preseason and training camp. He's throwing interceptions to the offensive coordinator, and now doesn't look very good coming through the preseason. Now, I want to ask you about him, but then the trickle down effect of him struggling on one of the best receivers in the game, Julio Jones.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan's one of those cases where, again, I'm not too worried. I think Carson Palmer's having a terrible preseason, too. There's some other guys. I mean, when I look at veterans like that who've been in the system, who have worked with their guys for a while, it's just tough for me to get too worked up and too worried about him. Now, to me, Matt Ryan wasn't a starting fantasy quarterback anyway. He hasn't been that for a couple of years now. And, yeah, he's got Julio, and that's great. But you look at the rest of that offense, and it's kind of one-dimensional at this point, at least for him passing the ball. Now, Devontae Freeman, who I actually like, who most other fantasy sites are really down on, he's obviously a very good pass catcher, too. And I still like him. To me, that's a two-man offense. One catching the ball, one running and catching the ball. And we'll see on Tevin Coleman. Jury's still out, obviously. But, yeah, to me, Ryan, he's one of those boomer bust backups. You take him late. If he starts slow, you cut him. You don't worry about it, and then you try to get whoever the flavor of the month is. But as far as Julio, not concerned at all. He's just one of those players. He's kind of like Beckham. All they need is 3 catches in any given week,
Right.
100 yards and a touchdown.
He's Matt Lutovsky of the Sporting News. He's my fantasy expert to be joining us each and every Wednesday night going through the fantasy season. Follow him on Twitter at @MLutovsky. That's MLutovsky. And read his stuff. Definitely read his stuff if you got a draft coming up before the season starts on Sporting News. I was reading your stuff, and I saw you had some must-have handcuffs. Let's talk about that real quick. Give us some must-have handcuffs to draft this Sunday when the One Mike with Big Mike Fantasy League drafts.
Well, there's the handcuffs where you draft them thinking that they could just be good on their own, and then there's the guys who it's like, well, if Todd Gurley gets hurt, I better have Benny Cunningham, or I better have Jerick McKinnon if Adrian Peterson gets hurt. So, I kind of put those guys in a little different categories. Some of the guys I just kind of like on their own, who I think could actually be pretty interesting, maybe take over the job of their team, like this Robert Kelly kid in Washington. Matt Jones is already hurt. He really wasn't very good last year, and they don't really have anyone else. Chris Thompson, the receiving back, he's not really going to get more carries. I think he's interesting, one of those last-round type guys. I think Kadeem Carey in Chicago is a guy that I would invest in because Langford, for as good as he's kind of looked,
I like him.
I'm not fully trusting. Yeah, I like him too, but at the same time, there's a lot of times I go into the season and like a guy, and then he doesn't perform. And John Fox is a coach who always seems to want to use 2 back. So that could be an interesting spot. Like Cameron Artis-Payne in Carolina, Jonathan Stewart, we know he's injury prone, so he's a worry to me. Sean Jerome in San Francisco, same thing behind Carlos Hyde. Reggie Bush in Buffalo, they're a team that runs the ball a ton.
Rex.
He's gotten that number 2 spot. And then, there's kind of the obvious ones like Derrick Henry in Tennessee and maybe Kenyon Barner in Philadelphia, Charles Sims in Tampa. So there's a lot. We got a list, we got a handcuff chart that we update all the time when there's ever new things. And so there's a lot out there, and you don't have to draft them all, but I recommend getting at least 1 or 2 and kind of giving yourself some upside and some options.
All right, as we finish up here, let's go a little bit of rapid fire here. Position by position, guys that you think that people may be a little bit too high on, starting with the quarterbacks. Who are some quarterbacks you think people might be a little bit too high on going into the drafts?
Well, it's tough because it's going to change every draft, but I'm just not quite as excited on Carson Palmer as a lot of people.
With those weapons?
Not great receivers. I know, but I just worry about the injuries. That's the only thing with him. Plus, I think there's a lot of guys who can put up, I like Derek Carr, for instance. I think Blake Bortles can be pretty good. But other than that, I think I'm pretty much in lockstep with a lot of people on how they view quarterbacks. I don't have anyone significantly higher or lower than other people.
What about running backs? Who are some guys that may be too high on at the running back position?
Well, running backs, that kind of comes down to kind of how you worry about injuries, really. I think Latavius Murray is not a guy I'm super high on. I like DeAndre Washington there, talking about the handcuffs, as another guy. I'm not nearly as high on C.J. Anderson as a lot of people. I mean, that guy was bad last year, and he was better toward the second half of the year, but he still wasn't getting a ton of carries. And Devontae Booker, their rookie there, I think definitely makes for an interesting pick. I'm not as high on Jeremy Hill as people, and that's kind of a personal thing, I think, because I like Giovanni Bernard so much. I might be projecting on him. I totally understand why people like Hill, obviously getting the goal line carries there, but I just think Bernard's versatility, makes him someone who's just going to eventually get more playing time.
I'm surprised you didn't say Lamar Miller, because that name's been coming up a lot, but Lamar Miller hasn't been a terribly productive guy when he was in Miami, and I guess people feel like because now he's with the Texans, it's going to be a different story. So you don't think people are too high on him?
No, I actually do, and he's a good one you brought up. Like, I like Lamar Miller, but he's going off pick 5, pick 6 overall, and I'm just not ready to go that in on him yet. The big thing with him in Houston is they think he's going to get a ton of reception, because that's obviously what Arian Foster did. He's proven to be a good receiving back. But you're right, he was always inconsistent in Miami, and it's easy to blame that on the Miami coaching staff. But sometimes I think, well, maybe he was giving them reason not to play him. You know, you never really know on that stuff. So, yeah, I'm sort of, I want to see it. I'm not jumping in on that guy 6th overall. If I get him in the 2nd round, sure. 1st round, I'm not taking him, but I think in most drafts he is going that high.
Now, what about the tight ends and wide receivers? Some guys that people might be too high on as far as the tight end and wide receivers go.
Yeah, I mean, wide receivers, I think, again, I'm kind of in step with a lot of people. I'm not very high on Doug Baldwin this year. I just think last year was such one of those runs that you see sometimes, and obviously it's not luck, but it's sort of just lightning in a bottle. I don't like him as much. I like Jarvis Landry in PPR, not nearly as much in standard. I think sometimes people can sort of confuse the two. I like Dante Moncrief, but again, not as much as a lot of people. That's a team where obviously T.Y. Hilton's the one. I think Phillip Dorsett's a nice sleeper to get there. They have Dwayne Allen. There's enough to go around on that team, but I'm seeing Moncrief go off the board pretty high and higher than I'd like to take him anyway. Same with Marvin Jones, another guy. I want to see it to believe it. He's had a 10-touchdown season, but that was 3 years ago. So I'm not going all in on him in Detroit quite yet. And the tight ends, I mean, after you the top 3, it's all kind of a crapshoot anyway, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's tough for me to really dog any tight ends or get too excited about any of those guys.
Wait, who's the third one?
The top 3.
Gronk, Reed, and then who? Who's the third guy?
Greg Olsen.
And Greg
I
Olsen?
put Greg Olsen in that category, just because he's so consistent. You wish the touchdowns were higher, but I think he can score 8 touchdowns. Like, I don't think it's crazy for him to get that many. But, yeah, after those guys, I probably Coby Fleener is the one guy I'd point out that, you know, it looks great. The system looks great. Ben Watson put up big numbers with the Saints last year. But a little bit more, you talk about a guy who's having a bad preseason. He's having a bad preseason. And, I'd kind of like to see it before I invest too high of a pick on him. Now, maybe among tight ends, I have him ranked the same as, other people, but just where he seems to be going overall is a little bit too high for me.
Absolutely. Wrapping up here with Matt Lutovsky of Sporting News. He's our fantasy expert that'll be joining us each and every Wednesday throughout the fantasy season. Follow him on Twitter at @MLutovsky. On a personal note, a guy who I really like, but I think he gets held back by Jason Witten, is Cole Beasley. I think Cole Beasley does more in the middle of the field than Jason Witten does at this point in his career. Do you see him, with now the young quarterback needing some easy throws, you see him being a good fantasy contributor this year?
Yeah, I mean, that's a PPR guy, without question, just because touchdowns are hard to come by, I think, in that offense when you got Dez and you got the running game that they have. But, yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that wouldn't surprise me if he had a really good year. But it's going to be tougher, I think, without Romo there. And, Witten, he's still going. He's still kicking somehow. It's clearly part of their offense to throw to Jason Witten a lot.
Right.
So if he gets hurt or is really slowed this year to start the year, then I could see Beasley stepping up. But, again, one of those guys that's probably better in real life than fantasy, because he certainly is an important part of that team.
Absolutely. Now let's go quickly through your sleepers from the quarterback, starting first at the quarterbacks, your sleepers.
Like I said, I really like Derek Carr. I really like Tyrod Taylor as a guy who's getting drafted outside of the starters.
So Derek Carr is a sleeper?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends how you look at it. I've seen him going in the 9th round, and I think that's a little too low for him. I think he should be going over some of the quarterbacks that seem to be going ahead of him.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a nice year.
Tyrod Taylor I really like. He runs the ball, and he's very efficient. He only had 7 turnovers last year, and obviously he's got an ace receiver in Watkins, good receiving backs. So I really like Tyrod Taylor, and you got the two second-year guys in Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. I think Jameis Winston especially could have a breakout year.
Absolutely. What about the running back position? It used to be the prime position in fantasy. Now it's morphed into the wide receivers. But who are some sleepers at running back?
Yeah, I think sleepers at running back is you're kind of taking these backups committee guys and hoping one of them breaks out, which isn't nearly as exciting. But like a guy like Amir Abdullah, for instance, is a guy I could see breaking out. I could see doing nothing. They tend to be pretty high variance guys, high floor, low floor, high ceiling guys like that.
What about the kid in San Diego, Melvin Gordon? Had a tough year.
Yeah,
last
Melvin
year.
Gordon.
Think about him.
Very similar to Amir Abdullah in my mind. Very similar. I think you could put Matt Jones in that group too, as these guys who are going to be their team's starting running backs. But there's receiving backs in all 3 of those spots, and Theo Riddick, Danny Woodhead, and Chris Thompson, who really have those roles established. So it might kind of come down to, are you going to get the goal line carries or not? And I think at least for Gordon and Matt Jones, they are. Now, Abdullah, jury's still out, but I would think he's going to, but the Lions have trouble running the ball, of course. But then you get into kind of these backups. I like LeGarrette Blount, too, by the way. I think he's being underrated. But Christine Michael, I could see this being the year for him. And then there's a ton of rookies that you just don't know. I mentioned DeAndre Washington and Devontae Booker, and it gets even deeper than that with some guys on other teams like Paul Perkins and Robert Kelly, Wendell Smallwood. So, yeah, that's going to be one of those things where guys emerge around week 4, week 5, and we all scramble to pick them up.
And now some wide receivers and tight ends. I think about guys like some of the guys that we didn't see last year. The kid that got drafted out of Central Florida, Kevin White. Some of these athletic big wide receivers that we didn't get to see last year. The kid out of Louisville as well. Who are some sleepers at the wide receiver spot?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned them. Like this year, like you have the rookies like Sterling Shepard and Michael Thomas. And Tajay Sharp's coming up a lot there down in Tennessee. I'm not as high on him, but there's some very interesting rookies. Corey Coleman, too, of course. Mm-hmm. But then you have these second-year guys who barely played, if at all, last year. You're referring to, like, Devontae Parker and Rashad Perriman and Sammy Coates and Philip Dorsett, who I mentioned earlier. I really like a lot of those guys, and I think they're in good position to kind of break out this year. Perriman's got the injury worry. Devontae Parker kind of got dogged by his coach this week, so there's red flags there too. Sammy Coates has had a really bad preseason as well. That kind of is has elevated Marcus Wheaton's stock. We felt that way about him last year, and he kind of let us down, but this could be the year for him, too. He's definitely someone worth watching. So I think there are quite a few wide receiver sleepers. You have Kevin White, too. Some guys that changed team, like down in Atlanta, Mohamed Sanu. Not nearly as high on him as I am his former teammate Marvin Jones, who changed teams. But, he's at least worth watching. And Dorial Green-Beckham in Philly could eventually break out, but it'll probably take a little time for him.
There it is. Hey, man, Matt, I look forward to doing this every week. I just got smarter, and I'm going to take what you said. I'm going to get your cheat sheet from the Sporting News. I'm going to keep following you like I always do at M. Lutovsky. You guys should do it too. MLutovsky for all your fantasy information. And hopefully on Sunday, man, the information that I've gotten from you the last 2 times we talked will pay off in a One Mike with Big Mike League championship.
Yeah, man, that's the goal. And if it doesn't, don't blame me.
Hey, I won't. I suck at this stuff anyway, so I won't. Take care, brother.
All right, man. All right, thank you.
All right. That's Matt Lutovsky, ladies and gentlemen, our fantasy expert who will be joining us each and every Wednesday night right here on the One Mike with Big Mike show. If you're looking for the live stream on Spreaker, something went down. This console has been acting an ass for the last couple of shows, man, and it kind of just went out on me. So what I'm going to do is what I did on Monday. I'll take the audio from the video stream and I'll place it on Spreaker. You can get the episode later on, but right now there's no live episode on Spreaker. So if you want to hear the show live, you got to go to TuneIn or go to Blastfire or just go to my website, onemikewithbigmike.com to get the show, the audio live. The video is still up and running on Facebook, facebook.com/ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. It's still interactive. So if you guys want to holler at your boy, just send me a text to 404-902-8104, or you can just leave comments below the video here. I'm going to have to keep time on my computer because, of course, the console has gone down. So, first time I'm doing this. No console. I'll still be able to, run my commercials and all that stuff. Coming up next will be Michael Collins. He is he's the college sports editorial director and national writer for fansided.com. You guys can follow him at mcfansided.com. He's like a rapper, MC Fansided. Yeah, man. We're going to talk to him about college football. We got to get ready for the season. I told you guys I was going to give you the schedule on Ole Miss. The Georgia damn Bulldogs. We're going to take on the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. Clemson at Auburn. I'm looking for. I want to see Auburn's new quarterback. Their JUCO transfer, because every time they get a JUCO transfer into Auburn, they end up in the damn national championship for the last couple of times with Cam and the kid Marshall, and I don't know this kid's name, but I don't even know if he'll be starting. Now that I think about it, it might be that kid that started last year, Jeremy Johnson or something like that. LSU's taking on Wisconsin. They're going to be at Lambeau Field for the first time ever. A big-time college football game is going to be taking place at Lambeau Field. Notre Dame at Texas. Charlie Strong, year 3 for him. So it's one of those situations where now he can no longer say that I don't have my guys. Year 3. His guys would be juniors now. It's time to rock and roll, trying to piss to get off the pot, Charlie. Got number 16 UCLA at Texas A&M. And then you got Kansas State at number 8 Stanford. Those are your big college games for the weekend. This is the One Mike with Big Mike show here on Spreaker.com. Well, no, not on Spreaker right now. My Spreaker's gone down. So right now you can only catch the show live on TuneIn, on Blastfire, and you probably can't catch it there either now that I think about it. That sucks. But I'm still doing video. The video live stream is still on my Facebook, facebook.com/ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. And what I'll do, it will be available later, so you can go and get the audio version downloaded or listen to it or whatever later on. If you don't get a chance to catch the entire episode, it'll be available on Spreaker, on the Spreaker app, as well as on TuneIn and Blastfire and OneMikeWithBigMike.com, and also iTunes, iHeartRadio. And we'll be posting the video on YouTube as well, so make sure you subscribe to that YouTube page and to my iTunes as well. Once again, answer the question of the day, which is which game this weekend, which college football game this weekend are you looking most forward to seeing? You can answer that question by texting 404-902-8104 or by going to my Facebook page, facebook.com/ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE, and putting your answer in the comment, and I'll read some of them after I get through talking to Michael. So we'll do that next right here It is the One Mic with Big Mike show.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So of course we all know there's lots of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. But here's the thing. This problem is entirely solvable. Seriously, we already produce more than enough healthy, nutritious food in this country to feed every single last one of those hungry kids. We just need a way to get it to them. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks is out there every day gathering surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families all across the country. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're Feeding America.
That shouldn't be happening.
Feeding America and
Hello, Michael?
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how. Take the pledge at it'sonus.org.
One mic.
Hello?
It's just different. One mic with Big Mike.
The overall tenor of what he's saying is very stupid. Hello, Michael?
Say his style is too urban for the radio.
Maybe it's not racism. Maybe it's placism.
Brother has to know his place, right, Bob?
One mic with Big Mike.
Things aren't always what they seem.
A sports talk show, but no subject matter is off limit.
Don't just tell me that the reason something's being done is because that's the way it's always been done. Because the first thing I'm going to say to you is slavery.
And now, your host.
I got the big homie here who needs no introduction.
Big Mike.
All I need is one mic.
Welcome back to the One Mic with Big Mike show here on a hump day. Getting in touch with my guest here. Had some problems calling him. It was like some feedback going on. I could hear my own show when I called him. I don't know if I called him and he was listening to the show or what, but hopefully he'll give us a call here in a second. We can talk about this college football stuff because there's a bunch of stuff I need to know. I've been like skimming over, the information, about the kids that got arrested at Notre Dame and how Georgia doesn't have a quarterback yet and Alabama doesn't have a quarterback yet, and LSU's looking for the kid Harris to take the next step. Charlie Strong's trying to, still put up with that kid Swoops down there at Texas, and you got Zaire and the other kid, what the hell is his name, at Notre Dame. Of course, everybody's talking about the Heisman Trophy winners or the Heisman Trophy candidates, Deshaun Watson, and you got Dalvin Cook. Guys like that. All right, now we should be ready to rock and roll now. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
Yep, it's time. I'm here, brother. We got the man of the hour, the man of the 8 o'clock hour at least from Fansided.com. He is Michael Collins. Yeah, we're gonna get into this college football stuff. Michael, before you got on the line, I was telling the people, man, and make sure you guys are following him at MC Collins on Twitter. I was telling the people, like, this kind of snuck up on me. I've been putting off talking about college football on the show. I was like, I'm going to get to it. And every time I say that, something comes up. So I've been like saving these articles, and now it's time for the test, and I haven't studied. So you're going to be my cheat sheet, Michael. I hope you're ready.
No problem.
All right.
Problem. And it's MC Fansided on Twitter.
What did I say?
You said MC Collins.
That's definitely not what I meant. Thank you for correcting that. Now, if you don't want to listen to my ignorant, but just go to my Facebook and look at the live stream. His beautiful mug is there, steely-eyed looking at you, straight-faced looking at you, and the correct Twitter name is below his face. MC Fansided is on the screen right now. I appreciate you joining me, man. Let's jump right on in, man. We got this massive opening weekend. They've ranked it now as the third best opening weekend in college football history. Now, if there was one game that we have to see, putting your Georgia bias aside, if there's one game that the college football fans have to see, which game do we have to see this weekend?
Well, there's just so many good ones this weekend. They've just stacked the deck with a lot of great non-conference matchups and some big games. I'm really looking forward to USC Alabama, though. I think we've got two teams there that have got a lot to prove. I think USC wants to show that they're on the way back up in the Pac-12, and Alabama, of course, the defending national championships. You got two ranked teams in a neutral site, 8:00 game. You know, it's everything is set up for a big game there. So I think that's a big one. But you can't overlook Texas Notre Dame on Sunday night either. That's another big one.
Is Charlie Strong on the hot seat? It's like is this like a piss to get off the pot type year for Charlie Strong?
You know, I think it's. I wouldn't say it's a piss to get off the pot, but I think Strong's going to be judged by a lot this year as the year goes on.
Mm-hmm.
I think Texas has given him a lot of leeway, and you know, he's got his recruits in there now. He's been there for 2 seasons. He's got some of his own players. And I really think if you look at what Texas did last year, I mean, they really played better towards the end of the season. The games that they lost, they really didn't lose that many games by much. They lost a couple by some heartbreaking decisions.
Some tough ones.
Missed extra points, things like that. So, you know, they weren't that far from being, you know, a pretty good team last year. So I think they'll be much better this year. I think it's going to be a close game. I think that they're going to give Notre Dame everything they can handle.
Give us some matchups over the weekend. Player matchups, position matchups, even coaching matchups that as college football fans we should be keeping our eyes out for.
I think on tomorrow night, I think you want to watch Tennessee Appalachian State.
Really?
Not because that's going to be some great matchup, but I think Tennessee knows they have a lot to prove this year, and Butch certainly knows he has a lot to prove. He's on the hot seat whether anyone wants to admit it or not. And Appalachian State is one of those teams that's always good, always strong. They pulled upsets before. Just ask Michigan about that. You know, if you're not on your A game the first game of the season, a team like Appalachian State can surprise you. That's going to be on the SEC network too, so it's got a good audience. Watch that one carefully. I think that's just a good Thursday game to watch. One of the ones that has me excited is Kansas State at Stanford. I think that's going to be a good matchup. You got two great coaches there in that matchup, and I think Kansas State is a little overlooked this year. They're always going to be strong. They're always going to have a good defense, a strong running game. They play that traditional game, and I think Stanford matches up well against them. I think you're going to have Stanford's strong offensive line against a really good defensive line at Kansas State. That one could go in either way, but I'm going to take Kansas State in the upset over number 8 Stanford on that one.
Mark it down. Now, this is the same Stanford team that got upset by Northwestern last year, so it's not beyond the realm of thinking that a team like Kansas State could pull an upset on David Shaw's guys early in the season. We got to talk Heisman Trophy, right? Because that's what you do around this time. You talk Heisman Trophy, then by the end of the year, some guy who you never heard of ends up with the trophy. So this year, we know about all the usual suspects, Watson, and we know about McCaffrey, and of course Leonard Fournette and some of these guys. But who are some of these guys that we don't talk about so much? Like, let's say the kid in Miami, Kaya, or Dalvin Cook, that we don't talk. Even guys like Nick Chubb that we don't talk about very much. Who are some of those guys that we may see in New York at the end of the season that we're not really talking about right now?
I think a few that you got to watch. Watch for Bo Scarborough in Alabama. He has definitely got all the right tools. He's going to be stepping in. He may end up splitting some time with Damian Harris, but I think he's somebody to keep your eye on. If he gets the ball enough and does what Nick Saban likes his running backs to do, he could sneak right in there.
He's a big
you got to
kid,
talk
too.
about Jabril Peppers. You got to talk about Jabril Peppers at
Michigan.
You know, they have defensive backs that have won from there before, and he's definitely one of those star players that can change the face of a game. I like Washington's quarterback, Jake Browning. He's one of my dark horse candidates. I think if Washington plays up to their potential and Jake Browning improves on his freshman season, and people don't realize Washington was the youngest team in the FBS last year. They had more freshmen playing than anybody.
Wow.
They're just going to be better this year, and they were good last year. Browning could sneak in there. Elijah Hood at North Carolina, the running back there, that's another one to watch. Maybe Luke Falk, Washington State. I think a lot of people talked about him. But yeah, I think Brad Kaya, of all the dark horse candidates, he's one that you really got to look at hard, because he has had some fabulous seasons. He's put up some pretty good numbers in an offense that was basically drawing plays in the dirt. There was no offensive scheme at Miami in the last couple of years. And now he's got Mark Richt there, who not only is going to have things better organized and have a good offensive system coming in, but everybody knows that Mark Richt is the quarterback whisperer, man. He knows how to make these quarterbacks play up to their potential, and if he does that with Kaya could blow away the competition for the Heisman this year.
Talking right now to Michael Collins. He's at MC Fansided. He's from fansided.com. He's a college sports editorial director and national writer. Now, you talk about Mark Richt. Let's go to his old stomping grounds, your old stomping grounds at the University of Georgia. They got a brand new coach in Kirby Smart, a couple of injuries in the backfield, but Georgia, they got a stable full of these guys every year. Nick Chubb coming back from injury, Sony Michel coming back from the arm injury. What can people here in Georgia expect to see out of the state's favorite team?
It's going to be a tough game against North Carolina in the opener at the Georgia Dome. North Carolina is going to be very explosive on offense again this season. They haven't lost much. And Georgia lost a lot of defense, especially in the linebacking corps. They're going to have to ask some young guys to step up and replace some pretty big names from those linebackers. You got a question at quarterback. Is it going to be Grayson Lambert, or is it going to be the true freshman Jacob Eason?
What's taking so long on that?
I think the decision is made. I think Kirby Smart is just playing it close to the vest. He learned from Nick Saban.
Yeah.
You know that, and he's not going to let on. But I honestly believe we're going to see Grayson Lambert start that game. He may not finish it, but he'll start it, and we'll see how things go. But I think Coach Smart says that Nick Chubb is not on a pitch count, that he is cleared to go, that he can get as many carries as he wants. That said, I think that's just window dressing. I think they're going to be watching Chubb very carefully, especially after he takes a couple of hits. I don't think you're really going to see any Sony Michel in the first game. So, Elijah Holyfield, he dinged himself during the fall drill. So there's some questions in that backfield. Georgia needs a quarterback that can manage the game, that won't make mistakes, that has seen a defense like North Carolina's before. And that's Grayson Lambert. I mean, as much as fans don't like it, Grayson Lambert wasn't great last year, but Grayson Lambert didn't lose them any games either.
Gotcha. Let's stick in the SEC because everybody seems to think it's going to come down to LSU and Alabama. That seems to be it, right? The SEC West is going to come out and be in the Final Four or whatnot. But what is it that makes these two teams so comparable? Because Nick Saban, I don't know if you feel the same way you feel about Nick Saban as you feel about Kirby Smart, that he's already made his decision at quarterback, but it seems that decision is up in the air again for the third year in a row. But what is it that makes these teams so comparable, and how far do you feel like that they're ahead of the pack?
I don't think they're as far ahead of the pack as they used to be. I think what makes them comparable is that they have a very similar coaching styles in the way that they put their teams together. It's a heavy load on defense. It's a lot in the trenches. Big offensive line, defenses that create turnovers, that don't allow a lot of running yards against the opposition, and then an offense that's run-based that leans heavy on a running back like Leonard Fournette, like the guys that Alabama has. And then, you can kind of plug in the quarterback. Now, Nick Saban's been very lucky in the last 3 seasons that he's had a decent quarterback to plug in as each one has left. Les Miles has not had that luxury. He hasn't had a quarterback that has been able to really run his system and do what he needs to do, because if they get in trouble, if they've got somebody they play against a good defense like Ole Miss, some of these guys that can stop the run, they need to be able to throw the ball, and they haven't been able to do that.
What's the kid's name? Brandon Harris?
LSU back. He's got to be the guy this year.
Yeah.
He has to be. He's got to step up.
What are you hearing about Leonard Fournette's ankle? Like, that story kind of came and went, but it's an ankle. You know what I mean? Those things kind of linger.
Yeah, some of those injuries are going to stick around all year. Even if you tweak an ankle, a hammy, something like that in the fall, it's going to linger around all year, and he's just going to have to deal with it, and that's what he's going to have to do. I don't think it's going to be a debilitating injury, but it's going to be something to watch.
Got you. Let's move on to the Big Ten. Michigan made a lot of noise in the offseason. Ohio State has a whole team in the NFL right now. They've got like 6 returning starters, but they got J.T. Barrett. He's back, and he is the definite starting quarterback now. Not a lot of people talking about Mark D'Antoni's guys. First and foremost, why is that? Why do we see the team that represented the conference in the playoffs last year not getting a lot of conversation being made about them this year?
It's just because they lost Connor Cook. He was the guy. He directed that offense. He was their offense. I think losing him, along with some of the other players they lost on defense, they lost quite a few too. A lot of people didn't look at. Maybe not all went to the NFL, but some graduated.
Right.
They have a lot of reloading to do at Michigan State, and that quarterback position is key for Mark D'Antonio's offense there. So that's going to depend on a young guy stepping in. But you stated it. Ohio State, they lost everybody except J.T. Barrett,
right,
especially on offense. They've got to reload an entire offense. Michigan was great on defense last year. They had a couple of slips. Jake Rudock was okay at quarterback, and now he's going to have to break in a new quarterback this year. So you really don't know what to expect out of Michigan. Their two big games last year they lost. They lost to Michigan State, they lost to Ohio State, and the rest of their schedule last year was kind of, if you want to be honest about it. So,
oh, you're singing my song there, boy.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's go conference to conference here before we run out of time. To the Big 12 now. TCU, again, breaking in a new quarterback. You got all that crap going on at Baylor. We talked about Charlie Strong being in year 3, and, of course, you got big game Bob Stoops and Baker Mayfield and the boys at Oklahoma. How do you see the Big 12 shaking out?
I think it's going to be TCU. I think that system that he's running there, I think they've proven that it doesn't matter who they play at quarterback. They're going to put 60 points on the board. If they can play just a little bit of defense, they're going to beat everybody in that conference. I'm not convinced on Baker Mayfield. I wasn't convinced last year.
Okay.
I'm not this year. I'm not going to say fluke, but I'm going to say he's going to take a step back down to earth, and Texas could be the surprise. They could jump up and beat anybody.
And now when you talk about, by the way, we're talking to Michael Collins of Fansided.com. He's a college sports editorial director and national writer. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at MCFansided, MCFANSIDED. To the ACC, Florida State and Clemson, the cream of the crop, right? You mentioned North Carolina. What about then these two teams, the Florida State Seminoles and the Clemson Tigers, play on October 29th. But what about teams like Miami and Louisville? What kind of shot do they have about in making some noise? And who are some other teams that may have, like Virginia Tech? Do they have any chance of making some noise in ACC? And even here, hell, Paul Johnson's guys. Let's throw them in the mix too. Why not?
Yeah, well, Virginia Tech, I think you can pretty much count out. I'm not going to say they're not going to make a bowl, but they're not really in the running for the ACC title game. They're they got a whole new coaching staff there. They're going to be changing a lot of things. Who knows? They could surprise. I mean, they're still a good program, but I'm not going to put them in that list. Nor am I going to put Georgia Tech in that list.
No.
You're running a gimmick system. No, I can't. I just can't. And it's bias aside, I just don't feel like that's a system that's going to have any continued success in the ACC, particularly the way that conference has grown to be such a quarterback-driven conference.
Absolutely.
I think, Clemson has Deshaun Watson, who's probably one of the best players, if not the best player in college football right now. Florida State, they've got Dalvin Cook. They've got a lot of great players on defense. Are they the cream of the crop? Probably. But that said, I think North Carolina and Louisville are two teams to keep a close eye on this year, particularly North Carolina, because I think they're going to be even better than they were last year. They've improved on defense. They're reloading on offense. And they gave Clemson everything Clemson could handle in that ACC title game last year. So if people aren't careful, North Carolina is going to jump up and beat everyone. Louisville, quarterback play is the key there. We'll see what happens. Petrino's offense can sputter at times, but I really like what I see out of North Carolina. I would put them and Clemson as the two favorites in the ACC in my book right now.
And moving on to the Pac-12 now, some of the usual customers, Stanford, Oregon, USC, they're all breaking in brand new quarterbacks. So what does that mean for teams like Washington State? You talked about Washington. You got UCLA coming back with their second-year quarterback. With all that going on in the Pac-12, like how do you see that conference shaking out? Both, what are they, East and West out there or North and South?
North and South, yeah.
North and South, yeah.
I like... There's just so many good teams in the Pac-12. It's very similar to what we've seen in the SEC over the years, and there's a lot of
And you know what, Mike? People here don't want to believe that. When I make those statements, people say, "Man, get the hell out of here." The SEC, but they don't think people, because it comes on so late, people don't stay up and watch the talent level that you see out of those teams in the Pac-12, man.
Yeah, and if there's any one conference that has had better success against the SEC in the non-conference matchups, it's the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
They have had a lot of success against the SEC. There's a lot of quality teams. The problem is they do the same thing the SEC did a couple of years ago in kind of cannibalism of themselves during the regular season. That's why there was no Pac-12 team in the playoff last year.
Right.
But, you know, I'm not counting on Oregon. I like Stanford in the Pac-12 North, but Washington is my sleeper. They very well could jump up and win that division. Again, it all depends on the young team and the young quarterback play. Stanford's hands down got to be the favorite. In the Pac-12 South, I think UCLA and USC are going to battle it out. UCLA, I'll give them the edge just because of their quarterback play, just because of Rosen.
Right.
I think he's got a lot of moxie, and you know, you got to like what Jim Moore has done there at UCLA. He's really risen that program up, and I think they've been knocking on the door for several years, and this may be the year they break through.
Now, finally, on to the independent, Notre Dame. A couple of weeks ago, we had a couple guys, more than a couple, 6 arrested. And there's some doubt of whether 4 of them are going to play this week. But Brian Kelly has other things that he's dealing with as far as his quarterback situation. While some schools don't even have 1, he's got 2 that have shown to be very, very good players, and he decided he's going to play 2 of them. First and foremost, how do you feel about that concept of not selecting the guy?
I've never been a fan of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been of the mind that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1.
Right.
And the team looks to a leader, and that's what the quarterback is supposed to be. You need to have 1 guy that team looks to lead that team, to put him on the shoulders when the chips are down. And Brian Kelly needed to make that decision. I know he's got 2 guys that are very equally talented, 2 guys that have shown a lot, but there's got to be something that separates them. There's got to be, you need to take that and give it to the guy and say, okay, this is your team. Now go do it. And the other guy, he's going to get his chance. This is college football. Guys get injured. Things happen. You know, it happened last year. But you still need to choose that 1 guy that the team has got to turn to.
Yep, Urban Meyer found it out last year, trying to do the juggling act with Cardale Jones and J.T. Barrett. Didn't work out for them either. What do the Irish have to do to get? They're not a conference team, so they're going to have to be pretty special to get into that Final Four, aren't they?
I think so. I think they're going to have to run the table.
That's what I was going to ask you.
They've got a typically pretty difficult Fighting Irish schedule, but the fact that they don't play a conference championship game, the fact that they do have some, you know, what some teams would consider cupcakes on their schedule, and the fact that they're an independent and not in a conference, those are strikes against them when it comes to the college playoff, you know, the committee. So they're really going to have to run the table, 1 loss at most to a premier opponent if they want to make the playoffs.
What are your thoughts on the way that the playoffs are set up, the whole 4-team situation? Do you see it getting any bigger? Do you see the need for it to be any bigger? Or are 4 teams good for you?
Right now, I think 4 teams is good. I think
too.
Expansion is going to be inevitable. I think it's going to happen. Fans are going to demand it. Sponsors are going to demand it. Yeah, you know, all the money involved, everything like that. But I think that said, if they expand it to 6 teams or 8 teams or whatever they decide to do, it's going to really make a big change in the way the bowls are laid out. And the one good thing that may come out of it is we may eliminate some of these ridiculous little bowls that are losing money, that are just allowing 5 and 6 win teams in there. You know, I think they need to change bowl eligibility to 7 wins. You need to be above 500 if you want to play in a bowl game.
Absolutely. I don't make predictions on this show. And by the way, I'm talking to Michael Collins of Fansided.com. He's a college sports editorial director and national writer. Follow him on Twitter at MCFansided. Got a couple more minutes here with him. And I don't make predictions, but you're the expert. I want to know who you think will be in that Final Four when it all shakes out.
Oh, no pressure, right?
None.
I'm taking LSU in the SEC.
Okay.
They're my team coming out of the SEC. I think they're going to be in there. I think we'll probably see a Pac-12 team in there if it's USC or UCLA. If Washington wins the Pac-12 and they do it with 1 or 2 losses, I think they'll get shut out. If Washington wins the Pac-12 undefeated, you can't keep them out.
Right.
I think the ACC will send probably Clemson back to the playoffs this year. And I think the Big 12 is going to get shut out again. I think the Big 10 champion, which is most likely going to probably be either Michigan or Ohio State, will represent the Big 10 in the playoffs. And I think we'll see the Big 12 shut out as they were 2 years ago.
And who wins it all?
Oh, boy.
Does Clemson avenge that loss from last year? They can't do it against Alabama because the way you got it, LSU's there. But will they?
It all depends on how the matchups shake out and where they put the things. But I think if we end up with an LSU-Clemson final game, a championship game, then yes, Clemson wins it all.
There it is. One last question for you before I let you go, because I don't want to get surprised by this, and I know you may know this answer. Freshmen. Every now and then we see a Jameis Winston or a Johnny Manziel show up on the scene. Is there a guy that we may see this year in that same mode? Not necessarily a quarterback, but at any position.
Yeah, I don't know that there's really a true freshman that's going to just blow the doors off of everyone this year. I think of anyone, really, Jacob Eason probably had the best chance of that, but I don't know that he's going to be that guy this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think the class was very well distributed in offense and defense, and there really wasn't that one wow player that was going to take over and light college football on fire. But, Eason still has that chance to do that. I mean, he's got the arm, he's got the talent. But, young quarterbacks can struggle, especially playing against SEC defenses.
Yep. There it is. Michael Collins, I definitely appreciate your time. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out his stuff on fansided.com. That's FANSIDED.com. And his Twitter is at MCFansided. He is the college sports editorial director and national writer. And, sir, I appreciate you taking out the time to get me ready. Forget everybody else, just getting me ready for this weekend's college football season. And hopefully, man, I get a chance to talk to you down the line, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it.
No problem. Yes, indeed. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do my thing now. Ready to sit down on Saturday. Got to get up and cut the grass. Then I'm going to get out, get back in the crib, and just sit down and enjoy me some college football, man. It's that time of year again. The weather's about to cool down a little bit for everybody. What is this? What holiday is this? Labor Day? I think it's Labor Day, right? I don't keep up with holidays too much. But, yeah, Labor Day this weekend. If you're looking for the show on Spreaker, you won't be able to hear me say this, but if you're looking at me on Facebook, tell your people that's looking for me on Spreaker to come holler at me on Facebook.com/ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE, because for some reason my Spreaker console is acting the ass on me today. Yeah, it's a terrible situation, man. The hump day situation for One Mic with Big Mike ain't doing so good. But don't fret. What I'll do is I'll get the audio from the video stream, and I'll just load it up into the Spreaker, and that way you can go back to Spreaker. You can go to the Spreaker app to tune in to Blastify, to OneMicWithBigMike.com. You can go to iTunes, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube as well, One Mic with Big Mike. And then you can hear the audio of the show later if you don't want to sit here and look at my ugly mug. Also, make sure you're following me on Twitter and Instagram at One Mic with Big Mike. The number one MICWITHBIGMIKE. If you guys want to hop on in the show and be a part of it, you can do so in only two different ways today. Either by texting me at 404-902-8104 or by leaving your comments below the video stream. So when I come back, I want to talk about some of this NFL stuff. I'm kind of done with Colin Kaepernick. I have a couple of more things I want to mention about Colin Kaepernick, but nothing extensive. So I'll do on this day my daily look back into the annals of sports. I'll do that here on the other side of a short break, and then we'll wrap up the show, and I'll let you guys go, man. Appreciate you guys for joining me here on the Hump Day. I'll be right back.
Hey, Nick Cannon here. So of course we all know there's lots of talent in America. But unfortunately, there's something else we've got way too much of. Childhood hunger. 17 million kids struggle with it in this country. But here's the thing, this problem is entirely solvable. Seriously, we already produce more than enough healthy, nutritious food in this country to feed every single last one of those hungry kids. We just need a way to get it to them. That's why the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks is out there every day gathering surplus food to give hope to hungry kids and their families all across the country. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together we're Feeding America.
A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Today, call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
And now back to One Mic with Big Mike.
And here we go!
Welcome back. Final segment of the show. This is the One Mic with Big Mike show. Usually, I'm here on Spreaker.com, the Spreaker app, but my Spreaker is down for the day. It's a terrible hump day for the people trying to holler at your boy on Spreaker, but don't worry about it. You can catch me after the show. Give me about 30 minutes after, and I have the audio up for you guys to check out on Spreaker, on the Spreaker app. Tune in or have it as well. Blastfire, One Mic with BigMike.com, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe to that YouTube page, One Mic with Big Mike, as well as my iTunes as well. I don't know if you can subscribe to iHeartRadio, but what the hell, do that too. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the number 1 MICWITHBIGMIKE. And check out the live Facebook stream. That's the only place you'll be able to hear me tonight. The live Facebook stream on my Facebook page, ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. And while you're there, make sure you like that situation as well. Like the page. Contact the show via 404-902-8104. Let me check, because while I was talking, I didn't check to see if anybody's texting in. Let's see here. Nope. Go ahead and text me, 404-902-8104, or leave your comments below the streaming video on Facebook. I started the show off talking about Colin Kaepernick, and then I kind of, took a little hiatus from that to get you guys ready for fantasy football. The fantasy football draft for the One Mic with Big Mike Show Fantasy League is going down this Sunday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. 10-team league, PPR. We're going to try to do that thing, man. You guys going to have a chance to win some tight little gear. We're going to get up on these One Mic with Big Mike T-shirts. You may be the winner of the league, may be the first one to get one, as a matter of fact. But we're working on that, as well as some new era hats that I got that I can bestow upon you guys, and some signed footballs from some Super Bowl champion and NCAA football greats. Yeah, we're trying to do that thing a little bit big, right? Speaking of doing it big, Renee told me not to mention this, but I'm gonna mention it anyway because I'm that type of guy. No guarantee, but we're working on something real good for Friday. Well, one thing is already confirmed. Donovan Carter, the kid that plays Vern on Ballers, he's going to hop on and share the mic with me for a spell on Friday. So we're going to chop it up with him. We got to, of course, he's a former college football player, so we're going to ask him about his days at UCLA. I think he got a cup of coffee with the Raiders as well. I got to do some more reading on the kid. But we hadn't seen him on the show. Now, think about it. The last couple of weeks, no Vern. Ever since the alpaca situation, we ain't seen him or Reggie on the show. You know what's happening with that show? Straight up. It's becoming a whole, I guess because, I don't know if you all saw this, The Rock is the highest paid, he's the highest paid actor in America. So I guess because you got that on your show, Mark Wahlberg is the show is like heavy rock centric, and now Andy Garcia is on the joint, so their two characters got their little thing going on. But yeah, you're not seeing no Vern, no Reggie. You still got the Ricky Jarrett and Charles Green characters there and there. But and then they got the white kid that supposed to be this Florida State linebacker. Not really believable, but we'll talk about that on Friday with Donovan Carter. But the other thing is, and Renee's working her ass off. If you see Renee in the street and you wonder why she's assless, that's why. She's been working it off trying to get someone that I requested. I know him in my youth as Chris Jackson. His name is Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. And if you're like, why would you have him on? If you don't know, well, please listen to the show on Friday. Hopefully we get him on Friday. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. But we're going to talk to him about this Colin Kaepernick thing because he got into a lot of trouble for doing the same thing a long time ago, 95. I said a long time ago. Hell, I graduated from high school that year. Got fined, got suspended, and all those kind of things by the NBA. David Stern wasn't trying to hear that. He wasn't trying to hear about nobody's civil rights and none of that, nobody's constitutional rights and none of that. Fined that dude like $30,000 and suspended him and told him he couldn't sit down. He had to stand up and pray and all this kind of stuff. So hopefully, man, we get a chance to talk to the great Chris Jackson of LSU fame, but then Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf of NBA fame. So yeah, I'm excited about that, and hopefully it goes through. If it doesn't, things happen. It's happened before. We've had situations where we tried, man. Like big up Renee, man. She put her foot in this crap, man, and try to, I say, Renee, I need to get Obama. Bet. I mean, it ain't even no, I don't know if I can do that. It's like, bet it up. Let's go. And, we don't get Obama, but whatever. You got to shoot your shot. That's what they say, right? Shoot the damn shot. So anyway, hopefully we'll be looking at doing another double dip on Friday the way we did today with Matt Lutovsky and Michael Collins, who, by the way, man, shout out to Michael Collins and Matt Lutovsky. I'm ready for the weekend. I'm ready for my football, my college football. I'm ready for my draft. Yeah, up until about week 5, like I'm all in on fantasy football. Like you can't tell me nothing until like about week 5 come and like every player that I overthought about is now hurt, and I gotta like be trying to beg people to trade me people and. Yeah, fantasy football is a very humbling experience for me, and this is a very frustrating one at times, but that is what it is. Now, I did promise that we would take a look back into the annals of sports, so let me stop running my mouth and do my daily feature called On This Day.
Now, let's take a look back. On this day.
All right. Let's keep it short and sweet. On this day in 1881, the first tennis championship in the U.S. was played. And right now we got going on the U.S. Open up in New York. On this day in 1959, Sandy Koufax set a National League record by striking out 18 batters. I think that record was later broken by Kerry Wood and Roger Clemens, if I'm not mistaken. Right. On this day in 1969, the boxer Rocky Marciano. He died in an air finally. Judge Lance Ito. He ruled that only 2 tapes of the racist comments by Mark Furman could be played in the trial of O.J. Simpson. They didn't want to play the whole album. I mean, the whole collection. Only give us the greatest hits of your racial slurs. And that is your Hump Day edition of On This Day. Yeah, that was short and sweet. Good. All right. Couple things I want to make sure I mention to you guys before we get into this other stuff. A book that I'm always kind of mentioning this book periodically when it's applicable, and I think it is now as well. After reading you guys some of the stuff that came out of that Mike Freeman article, I don't think I got to the part about how the management, speaking about Colin Kaepernick and the executives in the NFL, part of their commentary revolved around how he should be grateful. He shouldn't be making any waves because of the money he's making. And when I hear things like that, it always takes me back to the reading of a book called The $40 Million Slave. It's by William H. Roden. He writes for the Washington Post or the New York Times. William H. Roden, The $40 Million Slave. And it sounds like such an oxymoron. How can you be a $40 million slave? Read the book, man. It's very insightful, and it puts you into the mind of, again, to quote Chris Rock, you know what I mean? Like, Shaq is rich. The man who writes Shaq's checks is wealthy. And there's a difference, and I think as black people, we got to know that and understand the attitude towards black men in this country, especially black men of means. It's like, be happy that we allow you to get this. We're not allowed in America to want more. We have to be satisfied with what it is you feel like you allow us to get. This is why, if you notice, on this show, when someone signs a contract, like someone like Antonio Brown just redid his deal, right? Renegotiated his deal. I never say. And it's because of this book. It's not just something that I consciously came up with. It was a thought that was put into my mind from this book. And it's things that subliminally get put into us by the mass sports media. And people say it all the time. And that thing that I'm talking about is they gave him $100 million. They gave him this. They gave. Don't nobody say that to you about your job. You go to your job and you what? You earn your check, right? You earn your money. IBM or McDonald's or Walmart or whoever. They didn't give you nothing. But for whatever reason, now we've been conditioned. So many people have been conditioned. You hear it all the time. You know, the New York Giants just gave so-and-so $70 million as though there was no work done for it. And the attitude permeates through the people who are earning the money. Did you see Hard Knocks last night, ladies and gentlemen? Did you see Tavon Austin? How gracious he was. That he was giving that money. He acted like he was giving it like someone who won the lottery. Like he didn't do no work to get the money. Stop what he was doing on the field to go thank the owner. Thank you, boss. Thank you for my money. When the last time you thanked your boss for your direct deposit? When the last time you woke up on a Friday or whatever? You know how we do. You open up the phone, boop, 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 check the direct deposit out. You didn't run to work and thank your boss for your direct deposit, did you? Because that work you put in over those 2 weeks, that's your money. But see, that's what America has told us. That's what America has told these athletes. Even if you're receiving something that rightfully belongs to you, you still need to be grateful as though it's a handout. Think about that, man. The next time next time there's an off season and free agents are signing deals and getting money, before you open your mouth to say somebody was given something, understand what you're saying, man. You're speaking as though that person didn't do work for it. Now, you can talk about the merits of them deserving it or what. That's neither here nor there, because you deserve whatever somebody's willing to pay you. You're worth whatever somebody's willing to pay you. But at no time and ever, like this whole thing with Antonio Brown today, all they did was move money that was already earmarked for him. He's just getting it sooner now to appease him. It's already his money. You know, I like every time the phrase "wake up" pops into my brain, I refuse to say it because I don't speak in hashtags. You know what I mean? That ain't my world. But just think about the things that are going on around you, man, and don't be so quick to latch on to the things that are being placed into your subconscious, because it affects the way you look at people. You know, you look at people who are just like you. You know, the media is more than willing to criminalize things, like this Colin Kaepernick thing. To compare that dude to Ray Caruth, a murderer, an attempted child murderer, to compare your level of hate for Colin Kaepernick to the way you feel about Ray Caruth, that don't say nothing about Colin Kaepernick, but it says everything about you. But that's how it's done. You see what I'm saying? The people who make the decisions, they consciously go out of their way to criminalize these cats. I remember talking when me and Rob was doing the Sports Kings over at CBS, and that's when that whole stuff was going on with Terrell Pryor, and like I was the one on the radio saying, "What the hell are we talking about?" People kept on talking about this kid breaking laws, and I was the one that kept reminding people, it's not a law, first of all, so he's not a criminal. But secondly, what you're accusing him of doing is what the school does, and even after he got in trouble, did to him anyway. he used his name to come up. You know why I'm saying the school did that? Because they suspended him for the first 5 games of the next year, but allowed him to play in the bowl game, in which the commercials that were cut for that bowl game said, "Turn on your TV and watch Ryan Mallett versus Terrell Pryor." Meaning they were using his name for benefit, because they could have said Arkansas versus Ohio State, but they didn't. Right? Then on the other side of that, when they was talking about he gave away some gold pants, he traded them for some tattoos. Well, those gold pants were given to him. Oh, and before you start thinking what I thought they were actual gold football pants, like gold in color. They were actually gold. It's a pin. It's a gold pin of some football pants. I learned this by watching Pawn Stars on the History Channel, and someone came to pawn them, and I was like, oh, okay, gold pants. But anyway, he traded them for some tattoos and got in trouble for that. His own property now. But what you heard out of the sports media, out of the sports news, coming off the sports news desk, was they were acting like he killed somebody or he stole something. He traded his property, he traded his name to get cars, and his own property to get tattoos. How much more American is that? It's called bartering. But they criminalized the kid. Not only did that happen, when he got to the league, because he was like, I'm not trying to sit out these five games of my college season. I'm going to the league. Supplemental draft. The Oakland Raiders take him in the 3rd round. What does Roger Goodell do? He put his nose in some stuff that he ain't got no business worrying about, and suspended the kid before he could even start his career. Just understand what's happening, man. I understand what's happening. Apparently now the Cubans are mad at Colin Kaepernick too. Did you guys see his shirt? I said I wasn't going to do this, man. I said I was going to talk about football, didn't I? Crap. Screw it. It's only the 4th week of the preseason. Who cares? Did y'all see his shirt at the press conference, right? He had on a Malcolm X shirt. And this is the other thing that happens too. Now, because again, no one wants to talk about police murdering people. So they're going to dissect every little thing about Colin Kaepernick. So now it's like he had on a Malcolm X hat. And he had on the Fidel Castro shirt, is the way they want to tell you it is. But what is actually on the shirt, it's Malcolm X having a conversation with Fidel Castro. And at the bottom of the shirt, it says, I wrote it down here, like minds think alike. And because I'm me, I thought to myself, why is this dude wearing this T-shirt? Like, what is the significance of the T-shirt? So, because I'm not the dude that's going to try to get all my damn news from Facebook or whatnot, I went and found out what was on the shirt. And basically what it was 5 years before Malcolm X was assassinated and a year after Castro became the leader of Cuba. And he was in America for a, like the UN conference or whatever it's called, the nations. You know what I'm talking about. The thing that people, all those leaders of nations come, those kind of conferences. So he comes for that. America got the, panties in a bunch about what he's doing in Cuba or whatever. So they're kind of like being dicks to the dude, to Castro in Manhattan. They trying to sequester him to Manhattan. He didn't want to do that. He went to the hotel. They was trying to extort $20,000 from him, from his people, to be able to stay there. And then someone called from this hotel in not Brooklyn, in Harlem, the Teresa. It was like, yo, you want to come hang out here? It's cool. So then he comes there, and from what I was reading, apparently Castro was a big time proponent of Afro-Cubans, and he spoke out a lot about the racism against Afro-Cubans, because they made those boats made stops in surrounding islands, by the way, the Bahamas, Cuba, all those places, right? And that, at the time in America, with the racial tension, the racial temperature, the way it was, it drew the attention of black people, and black people was like, okay, sounds like this dude on our side. And then Malcolm X was like, yeah, let's holler at this dude. And so they sat down at midnight one night during his time here in America, and they were talking about race relations. And for whatever reason, I think the article talked about how Malcolm X was trying to get that dude to convert to Islam. But anyway, it was like a 15-minute conversation, and those were the pictures on Colin Kaepernick's T-shirt. But people see what they see, and people have, Cuban people have a set of emotions linked to Fidel Castro, and those emotions spilled over to Colin Kaepernick, ignorant and stupid and all these things, and unknowing and all these kind of things, right? And once again, ignoring the fact that all that man wanted to talk about was, he didn't even want to talk about it, they asked him about the mistreatment of minorities in this country, the disregard. And I saw Russell Wilson on TV today. The man who says a lot but never says anything. If you notice, nothing ever comes out of his mouth. And nothing came out of his mouth today. I think we just all need more love, more love. Here's what I say to that. Listen very closely. You can keep your damn love. I don't need nobody's love. I got loved ones. You know what I mean? I just need to be treated like a human being and respected. All that love stuff, love entails you having to get to know me on a way too personal of a level. No, just give me the respect and the decency, and treat me with decency the way any human being should be treated, and I'll be fine. There's enough people that love me. You know what I mean? We need to just love each other, because I'm not gonna love every damn body. I'm not even gonna respect everybody. But the people who command a certain level of respect, they get it from me all day long. But the people who think it's cool, that we don't even have to, like, that's a thing, man. Like, when you say you don't even think, you need to address the fact that in 2016, man, you can see a black man get killed live on your computer and bleed out in the lap of his woman while his baby's in the back seat, and nobody sees that as a damn problem. Come on. Like, now, whereas but some people might have thought, well, maybe they don't know how bad it is. Now you don't care. You don't care, and you don't want to know. You want to hide behind your flag. You want to hide behind your patriotism, and think that what you're doing is actual patriotism. But it's not. It's anything but. When you want to stifle the idea, and oh God, what is that girl's name? Her name is Joy. I stole her quote a couple of weeks ago, and then I saw her Facebook page. Now I can't think of her name. It's Joy something. She has a show on MSNBC. But she said, when you enjoy privilege for so long, equality feels like oppression. That's what white America is experiencing right now. The privilege of being white in America has been so good for so long. The thought of another group of people experiencing that, for some reason, makes a lot of people feel like their freedoms were going to be threatened. It's like, I don't know if you guys saw that story. I don't know, it was last year maybe. There's a CEO that just looked around his company and said, you know what? My people are struggling. The people who work for me are struggling. And I'm sitting here with, I got boats and cars and all this kind of stuff. Well, that ain't cool. So he sat down with some mathematicians and some economists. Is that what it's called? Economists? Yeah, economists. Whatever. People who know about the economy. And decided that in order for the people that worked for him to just live normal lives, I don't know, I think it's in California, maybe San Francisco somewhere, to live just normal lives, they would need to make at least $70,000 a year. So he said, okay, cool. I don't need 17 cars. 1-2 cars is cool. I don't need a 50-room mansion. A nice 4 or 5 bedroom crib is cool. So he's living normally. He's still way richer than the people he works for, or that work for him, but not exponentially. You understand what I'm saying? And everyone at that company makes $70,000. Everybody, at least $70,000. But in the aftermath of him making that decision, check this part out. Some of the people who were already making $70,000 quit. Because for whatever reason, if If the chick in the cafeteria is making 70 grand, that runs afoul. She can't be living the lifestyle that I'm living. And these people quit. That's how I feel about America right now. Somebody stands up and says, you know what? Some football player stands up and says, you know what? I'm tired of watching people. I'm getting treated pretty well because I'm famous and I got a lot of money. But there's people who aren't. I had a homeboy back in the day who he played with the Redskins. It's going to be the last thing I do for the night. He's playing for the Redskins, and one of his teammates was LeVar Arrington. And this was at the time where when this was 2000. So I guess Bush was running for the first time, maybe. And he was like, everybody in the locker room was like, yeah, man, y'all got to vote for Bush. Y'all got to vote for Bush. Because Bush, he going to pass them tax, them tax laws that's going to protect your money. And my homeboy was like, LeVar Arrington stood up and said, but what about the rest of my people? What about my folks? Like, I'm the only one in my family that's rich. What about them? See what I'm saying? Like, that attitude should be what's most prevalent. Not if everybody get treated as good as I get treated, I won't feel it special anymore. That's how I feel like white America looks at things. A good portion of white America is looking at things. If the police treat black people the same way they treat me, what if a black man could walk into a store and not get followed around? And when things of that nature, when people, two things, when people enjoy that kind of stuff that much, and then when people are able to profit off of those type of attitudes as well, there's no way this change. No one's taking money out of their pocket. Like, to me, that's the defining measure right there. The monetization. When money's involved, you show me the person that's going to take money out of their pocket to treat so that someone else will be treated better that they don't know. And if they have it their way, we'll never know. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, especially in this situation. Usually I'm cool with it, but in this situation, I'm going to tell you right now, man, we're screwed. Like, this whole society is screwed. Black people, we're screwed, man. We can, help your brother, man. Help your sister out, man, when you can. But on a larger scale, it's gonna take the doing of people who don't look like us to understand that the system is broken and needs an overhaul. But as long as those people are getting rich off the system the way it is, because it's only broken to us. You know what I mean? Like, we're the only ones that see it as broken. And while no one else can see it that way, or the people who are in charge of the system and have created the system don't see it that way, hey, man, you, me, and everybody look like me. We're on our own. Straight up. All right, let's get out of here, man. Let's end this hump day situation. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook or like my Facebook page, ONEMICWITHBIGMIKE. I always leave the video up at the top of the page for the next 2 days until we do the next show, or until we start promoting the next show or whatever. Stay tuned for Friday. Confirmed is Donovan Carter, the kid that plays Vern on the hit HBO show Ballers. So we'll chop it up with him on Friday at 7:30. Don't forget, all archived episodes of the show are available on Spreaker. They're also available on the Spreaker app. Tune in as well. Blast-Fi, OneMicWithBigMike.com, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Subscribe to that YouTube page. You can still answer the question of the day even when I'm not here. I'll still get it, man. I can answer it back. Oh, see, speaking of that, I almost let it ride. Couple of answers to the question of the day. See the artist on Facebook said she's looking for Clemson versus Auburn. D'Artridge looking for that FSU game. My man Coop, he's looking for Bama and USC, and of course Rob Calloway's trying to check out his brand new head coach over at the University of Georgia. That's going to do it for the Hump Day edition of the One Mic with Big Mike show. I appreciate y'all for joining me. I really, really do. The numbers are looking good. Seems to be like people are starting to, catch on and feel the vibe of what I'm doing. And I appreciate it, man. It's motivating. Trust me, it is. So spread the word, man. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, man. I'm here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 o'clock. I'm going to get the Spreaker situation set up, fixed, man, so that we're not continuing to have these problems. And I'll be back here on Friday. Maybe looking to take the day off on Monday. I'll play it by ear, man. But until Friday, man, you guys enjoy the rest of your week, man. And I'll hopefully, man, talk to you guys then.